Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi dan selamat petang.
Salam,
Good
sir.
afternoon. Good afternoon to all. As usual, to all the Muslim, we begin by reciting the Al-Fatiha and Salawat. Okay. How are you today? Everything okay?
Good, sir. Good, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So we continue our class today. Any question you want to ask regarding anything?
Sir, before that, I already collect all the document for the report, assignment report.
Okay.
And then now I already attached everything in our Google Drive. So I should email sir or I just send the link to sir via WhatsApp.
You share the link.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Okay, sir.
This one not all right. Not all then.
Not all, sir. Several group only.
Okay. Other questions? Anything want to ask? I want to ask you all. Have you ever done assignment on reviewing a paper? Have you done it before in your assignment? Before this lah, in your other subjects?
No, sir.
You never review a paper, eh?
Never.
Okay.
Redo paper apa tu?
Review article. Review report. Pernah buat tak?
Pernah.
Pernah buat Siapa pernah Wan Wan pernah buat
Ya.
Okay, so kalau pernah buat, okay lah, saya boleh bagi assignment on that lah. Right? Okay, so we start our class today. No more questions? Any else you want to ask me? Nothing, Right, we continue. So we continue on the last class. It's about the type of ships, Right? First we touch on container ships. Right? The phases that have been classified as generations in container ships. Now it's 6 generations until today. From 1956, container ships. 1956, container ship been invented. Containerization being invented. No container ship, Containerization. Okay. So who knows who invented containerization? Container. Who invented the container? Now we touch a little bit on containerization because it's a big thing in shipping nowadays. Not nowadays, way before in 1956. Containerization is very important, a quantum step made by an American entrepreneur, Malcolm McLean. Malcolm McLean is entrepreneur. He owns a transportation company of handling cargoes, right? So due to his invention, with the help of Keith Tantlinger, this the engineer, that designing the container, it has revolutionized shipping and global trade since, because of the inventions of containerizations by Malcolm McLean. Malcolm McLean maybe have the ideas, but the design of the container is Keith Tedlinger. Is an engineer. He designed the container with the ideas coming from Malcolm McLean. Malcolm McLean is an entrepreneur that have a transportation company that handle cargoes, and he keep on thinking how can the whole process of loading and unloading cargoes from ships can be expedited. Okay, can be expedited, right? Expedite mean can be faster lah, right? So he keep thinking, because those days cargoes be handled manually, meaning that although they use material handling like crane, those days they have crane also that carry all the bulk cargo, break bulk cargo to in platform, from the ship to the port, and then from the port to the lorries or trucks or rail. They use manual workforce, so it's quite late. The whole process slow, and it consume 3 weeks time to handle the cargo. 3 weeks. Just imagine the time. Those days are very slow, right? So Malcolm wondered how to improve this, right? Efficiently and effectively. Okay. So he worked with an engineer, and with the idea of compartmentalization, compact compartment, compact and compartmentalizations of cargo in one box. So they design the container, right? So due to the containerization, it has eliminated wasted space and cut unloading time by 3 weeks. You just imagine unloading time and loading time cuts by 3 weeks. 3 minggu, safe, not a short time. It's very long time, 3 weeks. So just imagine it cut off 3 weeks of the time, and it cut off the wasted space. Because why wasted space on the ship, on the deck, and on the ship? Because the cargo is not in the right shape, right? Just in awkward various size of ships. So you cannot fully utilize the space on the deck because of the shape of the cargo, right? So when you com, compartmentalization, compartment, the cargoes in the box. So the size of the box is all been measured standardly. So the space that is vacant is lesser, right? Because of the size of the container is standard, so they can maximize utilization of space. So the excess capacity to minimize, right? So this is Lean, right? This is the first ship that carry container. The company is Sea Land Service. The company belong to Malcolm McLean. He does not also invented the container, but also with the engineer, he invented the material handling of the container, right? So it's easy. This one is quite, this gantry cranes is already way past 1956. Ini dah maju sikit dah, 1960 plus lah. Because you see, because of the problem, they think about the problem, they have come up with many new ideas. They come out with the ideas of building, having a container. From container, they think about this thing, the crane, the gantry cranes, right, to handle the container fast. So because of this, many thoughts have been come out as an idea initially. Then they produce it to make a reality in handling the cargoes. Just imagine kalau tak ada container, there's no gantry cranes, there's no crane like this, right? Maybe the crane is like this only, kan? Take one by one. It's also slow, but it's faster than before lah. But with this, it's faster lah. Right. You can see my cursor or not? You can see or not? My cursor. You can see or not?
Yes, doctor.
So with
Yes,
this
sir.
one, they can have a more efficient movement of cargo. Although they have a container, but if they don't improve to make material handling like this, still use the old one. So it's quite slow, but it's still faster than before. Then you need to move by workforce, labor force, hard work by the crew at the ships and also at the port. Okay, because of the inventions of container, they keep on thinking how to improve. Then they come up with many machines, many cranes, sort of cranes. The common one is the gantry crane. This we call gantry cranes for container. Then we have stacking cranes for container, stacking at the port, right? How to stack container at the port? Can stack up to five story of containers. They use a crane, stacking crane. There are many other cranes and machines that help to make the whole process of packing and packing. Other than containers, inventing the containers, but the other thing is much more important in order to make the whole process of to make the whole process of containerization of cargo faster and efficient. Apa dia? Siapa tahu? Who knows? What is it? Other than container, what is it? Like I told just now, because the container, they keep on thinking and thinking many ways to make things faster and faster, to do the process cargo faster and faster. So what are the things that you think is very important, crucial, that make container more effective and more efficient? What is it? Siapa tahu? Siapa tahu? Port layout design, no. Port layout design before with that container also they can design it properly, right? But what is it that helps the whole process really go smoothly and quickly? You all, especially to all the transporter, to all the log trans students, you should know because you have learned it in theory, transport theory. I think you all should learn, right? Because you must the prerequisite is you must take transport theory, right? So you should all you all should know what is it. Handling equipment, and the equipment is be specific, standardized. No, siapa tahu? Wan Rozaini, Rozaini, Rozaini tahu tak? Rozaini, you mesti tahu. You all budak logistik and you learn theory and practice kan? Benda ni kalau you tak tahu, masalah. Because these are the things that helps. Apa dia? Wan,
Tak pasti lah tu.
tak pasti. Alright, dan Usha,
Sir, can you repeat the question? I can't.
what are the things that help the whole process of having a container more effective and efficient? That help making container more effective and efficient. Apa dia?
Handling equipment.
Utilization.
Apa? Ain, Ain? Dah makan? No. Anis, Ashikin?
Yes, sir.
Apa dia?
Not sure, sir.
Kim Yong. Yes, Kim Yong.
Teknologi sistem ke?
Ha?
Teknologi sistem ke?
Ini
Like,
macam container juga. Container kan new invention kan. Ini pun something special jugalah. But it's not new lah kan. No. Without this, containerization cannot be effective and efficient. No documentation, no. You tak nampak benda ni Kira dah 10 orang jawab tak betul ni ke, maksudnya tak betul lah semua kan.
The vehicle sir.
RFID, no, RFID is container is 1956. This invention is older than container.
Sekali lagi doktor tak dengar?
Container be invented in 1956, right? But this one is older than the container, way before the container. Tahu? Truck, tiny bukan truck je ni. Quarry crane, box. No. I think you don't know you pernah dengar tak palletization?
Tak pernah tu.
Pernah dengar tak?
Pellet ke
Palletization.
apa doktor?
Oh,
Palletization.
yes, sir.
Pellet. Tak pernah dengar.
Sir, just now I typed
Benar,
the
sir.
pallet and
Benar.
cartons.
Ya, Danisha?
Just now I start to type the pallet and cartons. So sir also does the same thing.
Then where is it? Okay, I mentioned already. Okay, never mind. That is palletization, yeah. Without the palletization, packing and unpacking the container also slow. Also, you need people to move it inside. But with palletization, is easier. And with palletization and one more thing is apa dia? Palletization and what? Material handling apa dia? Tak tahu juga lah. Without this, unpacking of container slow. With this, they can pack and unpack the container in less than 1 hour. Just imagine, 3 weeks can settle in 1 hour. Just imagine the gap. Tapi you need this kind of equipment. One, you need palletization. The other one is what?
So
Forklift, sir.
loose carton,
Loose carton? No.
forklift.
No.
Rapper.
Forklift lah. Forklift. Tak ada forklift, lambatlah kerja kan. Ada pallet pun, tak ada forklift nak settle the thing inside the container. Still slow. You need, if not, you don't have forklift, you need to carry. Still slow, right? So forklift and palletization helps to make containerization more effective and efficient. Right? Other than ada crane lah kan. That one at the port only. Tapi to pack the container and unpacking the container, you need forklift. And you need palletization. Without pallet, forklift cannot use. Right? So with forklift and palletization, then the movement of cargo will be faster. But people tend to take palletization for granted. But palletization is very important in mobilizing cargo. Right? Even a car also they put on pallet. Easy to move in and out of the container. Kalau expensive car lah. New car kan. See? And the other thing is conveyor belt. They need conveyor belt. You know conveyor belt? Conveyor belt is a belt, a conveyor that keep on running so that the cargo can move easily inside and out. Right? So these are the things that helps the whole process of using containerization more effective and efficient. You just imagine if container only been invented, but palletization not being used and forklift not being invented, so still slow, right? So with all this kind of machine will help the whole process of containerization is faster. That's why when you invented one thing, there will be other things that people keep on thinking to improve. And that's why they invent many machines to help. Right. And nowadays, clearing of cargoes at port and also loading and unloading of cargoes from ship to ships use lesser manpower. They use technologies, they use machine. It's faster, it's safer, and also it's reliable, right? Okay, understand now? Uh, right, the world first container ship, a converted World War II tanker, Ideal X, that is first container ship sailed from port of New York to the port of Houston in 1956. Maybe these ships belong to Malcolm McLean punya company lah, Ideal X, because he also have his own transportation company, right? It carried 58 shipping containers. So you just imagine a humble beginning of carrying 58 containers only. And you compare now, carrying 24,000 containers. Just imagine. 56 until 2021. How many years? 60 plus years, right? In 60 plus years, the amount carried by a ship from a humble beginning of 58 containers now goes to 24,000 containers. 24,000. So just imagine the gap. So in 1968, ISO, International Standard Organization, standardized this invention as a standard box. Tu yang kata 20 footer tu nak, TEUs, 20 TEUs. 20 foot long, 8 foot high, and 8 foot wide. Right? Shipping costs plummeted. Plummeted meaning go down. Shipping costs go down, and it's now cheaper to manage freight goods on the other side of the world because shipping became so cheap. This is the advent of the term globalization. Because of the advent of containerization, it's easy for people now to globalize their productions. Then that is why you see way before in 1970s and 1970s starting people keep on outsourcing of their productions from countries that is more cheaper to produce, like China, like Southeast Asia, right? Because of the cost of producing the product is cheaper here in Malaysia as compared to in US. So those days when in the industrial revolution begins, and now it is IR4, from 1 to 4, most of the focus is in the Europeans, the Western countries. R1 to R4. They are the pioneer of technologies usage, technology inventions, technology applications, right? So when they are more advanced, the cost of production is higher due to the cost of manpower, the resource, human resource is higher there. That's why people like to work at developed countries because the salary is higher as compared to Malaysia, as compared to China before, right? So that's why they outsource it to produce it away on the opposite of the globe, right? From US, they or outsource to China. From UK, Europe, they outsource to China, right? To Asia, to Southeast Asia. Because of this, the cost of transportation is cheaper. Because you use cheaper and faster. Use containerizations, and handling of cargo is lesser, right? So it's better to produce in China and transport it to Europe or transport it to US. Okay, under license production. That's why those days you have Nike made in China, but it's the original Nike, but made in China because China produce it cheaply, but they produce it in line with what they call it under license from Nike. They follow all the Nike standards, and this is the one of the reason why China learns so much on productions, on innovations, because they are the back office. No back office. They are the back office for the developed countries those days. Those days China is not developed because they are the back office. Most of the companies go to China to produce it mass productions, to produce it cheaply, and then move it to Europe to sell. Even the cost of transportation is cheaper, cover the cost of can what can still they can still bear the cost of transportations and production in China because it's still cheap as compared to produce and market it in Europe, right? So just imagine that is the advantage what been that China had because they learn all the innovation and technologies from the Western through these things, through back office, right? Same like Japan also and Korea, South Korea, they learn this, right? As you all know, all the technologies initiate from the Western, like all the vehicles, all good vehicles, expensive vehicles from the Western. But they import, they outsource certain product from Japan, from China, from South Korea, and they learn about it. They learn, and they learn that finally they make their own. You see, like Toyota have those days, you still not born yet. Those days when people use Toyota, they say what? Toyota is Milo tin punya kereta kan. Maksudnya low quality lah. Like Milo tin punya kereta Toyota. Now Toyota is good car. You talk about Toyota, Honda is good car. Those days you talk about Japanese car is out nak lecehnya kereta kan. Cheap cars kan. But low quality. Those days. Saya sempat lagi masa tu masa budak kecil lah. Tapi saya still remember. People say, oh Japanese car semua lousy lah kan. Cheap car kan. Tin mine car. Buat pada tin Milo je kan. Nampak. Those days. But now we talk about Honda. Wow, good car quality car. Toyota. They learn. How they learn is through this lah, back office. The Western countries outsource components for their cars, for their production from China, from Japan, from South Korea. Those days is from China. Those days from Japan and South Korea. Now it's from China. And 1980s from China, 1990s, right? And then some from Malaysia, Southeast Asia. You remember, that's why nowadays there's many electrical appliances that have their own brand name. Like Panasonic lah, Malaysia punya kan, Panasonic lah, macam-macam brand lah, MediaTek lah, apa benda kan. Apa nama tu kan, yang tak terkenal lah. Tapi they produce a good quality product because before that, they are outsourcing. The main production company like Philips ke, like big names, like other names like Toshiba ke from Japan, they outsource from Malaysia because that time Malaysia is cheaper. And Malaysia learn. And then from this technology, they develop their own. Same like China is doing now. Now China is advanced, even more than the Europe. Kan? China nowadays, yesterday I got news, China is the richest country in the world now. Amerika jatuh lah, nombor 2. Why is important a big effect to America? Because when China is the richest country in the world, meaning that their people purchasing power is higher than US. Now the superpower economy will be changed to China. Then this will change the policy, the geo-economic policy of the world. Right? So these are the things how China develops. It develops not only because of China alone, because China is helping the Western before to have to produce massively all the products that the Western own, because of China is cheap, right? Now America is trying to avoid that, right? Try to avoid China in technologies, right? Because it's too late already. China is very advanced now in technology because China learns well. And then compared to Malaysia, Malaysian learns slow, right? Although you just imagine proton cars is earlier than Geely, China brand kan car, but China brand car produce a lot of advanced car, like even Proton is earlier than Hyundai, earlier than Kia. Tapi what Proton progress slow, see, as compared to South Korea brand, as compared to China brand. Because China and South Korea brand is much more later than Proton, but they can excel more than Proton. Why? Because technologies, they really master the technologies, right? How they do it is through from the Western also they learn. Remember Mercedes and SsangYong? SsangYong led Mercedes. SsangYong helped to produce cars, SUVs for Mercedes those days. And now Mercedes have their own SUVs. And SsangYong use the Mercedes technology because SsangYong and Mercedes cooperate together until today. But SsangYong in Malaysia non-existent because brand Korea. Tapi brand Korea, the quality is Mercedes. Nampak? So it's very bad lah kan. Kita Malaysia ni is very weird, pelik kan. Something yang good walaupun tak ada brand, kita kata no good because no brand. Sedangkan the content is the same as the branded. You see now, Geely product are more advanced, right? Geely brand name, Hyundai, Kia, all high product, high good quality product brand. Brand mungkin tak so good, but the quality product is good, right? So that's why our country is quite slow in adopting this one, in analyzing this one. You know, our ex-Prime Minister, Dato' Tun Mahathir, dia punya initiative of making atau having and heavy industries like producing cars, producing motorcycles, right, and modernize, supaya kita can learn very fast from Japan. And later on, kita develop our own. But only Proton able, but it was very slow. But Modernas no more. Modernas tak have engine anymore. Sekarang pun tak ada engine lah. Dia hanya ambil Kawasaki je, pasang saja. Initially, the objective is for us to learn to build our own engine. Small engine, right? Tapi tak berlaku. But why? Because maybe we are lacking on that lah, our people lah kan. But China, Japan and South Korea, they learn very fast from the Western. You see now China can build their own aircraft. Their own aircraft like Boeing dah ada dah. So it's very very interesting. It's China punya growth. If you can learn lah. Right? According to the economists, the shipping container has been more of a driver of globalization than all trade agreements in the past 50 years together. Nampak? Economists ni apa nama ni, dia ada economist satu, one publications, the name is The Economist. It's very very high quality magazine on economy, talking about economic policies, fiscal policies of countries. They said that shipping container has been more of a driver of globalization than all trade agreements. You know, all trade agreements, why people do trade agreements? Because to encourage trades among the members of the agreements. But container is more than that, they do, right? That's what it mean. What does it mean? So the picture here, you can see the comparison between the 1956 Idle X, the first container ships, as compared to quite recent, 2015, but now it's even bigger, and Oscar. Now the biggest is Evergreen, right? And must ship also is quite big. So just compare these two, carrying 56 containers as compared to this ship maybe 18,000 to 15 to 18,000 containers. So how the world trade grows, how you can see how the world trade is growing, and even you can see the effect of globalizations, whereby one country cannot survive alone. They are very dependent on the countries in terms of supply of goods. Goods need other countries. One country cannot survive long without depending on other countries for the supplying activities of goods. So this is what globalization is, whereby globalization meaning that every country in the world is dependent on each other in terms of trade. If one country problem, it will affect other countries immediately. That is globalization. How we are very dependent on each other, right? Okay. This is the type of containers, right? You can see this picture. There's modular types of container ships and non-modular, right? The modular type is they have a brace, brace macam bracing buat gigi kan, ada brace yang pegang container. They build up brace, brace yang dibina khas untuk memegang container. Letak container dalam ni je susun. Jadi kontainer tak akan jatuh, tak akan bergoyang, dia stay there. Right. Ini geared modular container. Geared maksudnya ada what? Ada crane sendiri. Dia ada crane sendiri kan to handle the containers. Right. Kalau port yang tak ada crane, dia boleh harbor because dia ada their own crane. Dia ada geared modular container ships. Kalau tidak, kapal yang tak ada macam ni kan. Macam ni tak ada geared dia tak boleh harbor port yang tak ada gantry cranes. Dia kena cari port yang betul-betul provide services for container ships. But for this one, they can go to any bulk cargo punya port. They can also clear the container themselves because they have their own cranes and they call it geared modular ships. So these are modular ones. See, the modular. The container, these are modular ship being built. The modular container, container will stack between this modular casing or bracing and will be stacked. The other one is lashing. Lashing ni dia pakai dawai, batang dawai dan juga frame untuk memegang container, to hold the container on the deck. Dia panggil lashing. Lashing nanti saya tunjuk you. This one is lashing container. Can you see now? These are the lashing. Nampak tak bersih-bersih tu kan? Itu lashing. Dia bersih ni berjam pegang container tu. That is the lashing here, the bersih here. Okay. Kalau tak ada lashing, dia terbalik. Tak boleh pegang kan? Because you must remember the ship is moving on the sea, on the water, on the sea water. And sea water is not always calm. Tak selalunya tenang. Kena ribut, nampak? Habis, terbalik. Kalau macam ni berlaku, rosaklah barang. Barang in the container habis. So, these are the lashing. Kan? Yang pegang. Okay? But setengah ship, like I show just now, certain ship, they don't have lashing. They have straight, bracing for that. Dia terus pegang kan. Nampak dia buat fix dah terus. Pegang container bagi kuat, bagi tak bergerak kan. Nampak? So there's two types of container ship. One modular, this is modular lah. Modular kan. Modular. Cellular namanya. Cellular ships. Dia ada cell kan. Not modular, silap cellular. Right? Setengah lagi pakai buah terdek, dia buat lashing. Macam tadi kan, dia pasang dawai, pagar kan. Yang itu senang kalau, yelah benda berat kan. Setakat nak pegang masa tak gelora tu boleh lah sampai setakat mana dia tahan kan. Bila dah terus sampai gelora tu dia terbalik juga kan. Tapi kalau macam ni dia susah nak terbalik dengan mudah lah. Kecuali kapal terbalik kan. Habis lah kan. Okay. Faham Any questions? Any question until now? Time to check the class. Amira Izzati, ada question? Amira.
Ya, doktor. Tak ada soalan.
Chan Yi Zhuang.
Yes, doctor.
Any question?
No question, doctor.
Understand?
Understand.
Good. Po Huan,
Yes, doctor.
you understand now?
So far, so good, doctor.
Okay. In pay. Any question? In pay?
No, doctor.
Good. Muhammad Zaim,
Yes, doktor.
ada soalan?
Tak ada, doktor.
Sobana,
Yes, sir.
You understand?
Sorry, sir?
Do you understand what I'm saying just now?
Yes, sir. Understood.
Good. Siti Nur Aqilah.
Yes, sir.
Faham eh?
Faham, sir.
Alright. Anybody have questions before we continue? No question. Okay, good. We continue. So you see, it's very interesting, eh? When you talk about globalizations, okay, when you talk about how China, especially when you talk how China grows very well the last 30 years, and how the leader of China, Lin Jinping, has been established China until today, right? It's good, whereby you see, they know that they need leaderships, and Liping, lupa nama dia, has apa nama ni show that he can lead China to this level. So the Communist Party continue Li Jinping presidency until 2029. See, because they have confidence on him, because he have done it well, right? That's why sometimes it's good. It's good also to have China is not a democratic country, right? No elections, but sometimes if election, it's difficult. Sometimes you're voting the wrong person to be the leader, then it's a problem, right? The right people, you don't want to vote. You vote to other people. That one's very bad for the country. You just imagine nowadays Indonesia is going up. Indonesia is coming up, catching Malaysia. And if Malaysia doesn't realize it, doesn't do anything, one day Malaysia will be still behind than Indonesia. Even Vietnam and Thailand, we are already behind than Vietnam and Thailand, you see. If we are not careful, we still quarreling. You see our political scenario, keep on quarreling here and there, whatever party, whatever peningan. And by right, you should focus on Malaysian, our nation development. But you go for personal agenda, want to be the prime minister. I want to be, you want to be, everybody want to be prime minister. And, you doesn't realize that other countries are left us behind already. And why is like this? Because a survey done by I think siapa tak tahu, tapi quite by the ministry lah kan. They say that 70% of the youngsters in Malaysia nowadays willing to go outside and migrate to other countries to looking a better job and better pay job. 70%. Just imagine. This thing never happened before, or less than 10% or 5% only. Now 70% are willing to go outside Malaysia. Because what happened? Malaysia salary doesn't decrease. Right? Malaysia punya salary wages punya rate tak naik tinggi. But the cost of living naik tinggi. Cost of living naik tinggi. Gila punya tinggi cost of living. Tapi gaji tak naik. So how I want to survive? Betul tak?
Betul, saya sokong tu. Saya pun sama belajar ni pasal gaji lah. Tu saya 2 tahun kerja. Lepas tu saya fed up sangat, saya sambung belajar. Pasal gaji punya pasal.
Yelah, dia sama, tapi bila you grad tiba gaji tak naik kan? Sama je kan?
Itu lagi sedih kat.
Itu you frust. That's why bila dia orang interview, 70% people, youngsters like you, willing to migrate outside. Migration, most probably so bila Indonesia is catching up us, is better than us, you all pergi Indonesia lah pula. Kerja, betul tak? You percaya tak? Kalau Tesla mau invest kat Indonesia, semua pergi invest kat Indonesia, kan? One day so you going there. Dulu you kata orang Indo main Malaysia kan, kerja kan. Sekarang ni orang Indo kata orang Malaysia mai ke Indonesia bekerja. Sebab sini gaji besar. Kan? Kerja banyak, gaji besar. Dulu orang Indo cakap macam tu, kata balik lah. Sebab apa? Kita tak hati-hati. Kan? Kita tak hati-hati, tak jaga kita punya countries punya development. Sibuk benda lain. That's a problem. Sampai Thailand dengan Vietnam pun dah overcome us. Dah kalah dengan kita. Dulu Malaysia ada Logistic Performance Index. We are number 2 after Singapore, you know. Thailand dan Vietnam, we out. Dengan Indonesia out lah, kalah kan. Kita bawah Singapura saja tau. Sekarang ni Singapura still leading, Thailand masuk kalah kita, Vietnam kalah kita pula. Kita sekarang dekat Indonesia dekat nak kalah kita dah Indonesia in terms of logistic performance index. So we must think lah kan. Sebab tu you always should dah di waters, you must think, you must know how to choose who will be the good leader, who will be just a gimmick leader only kan. Dia kena tahu lah kan. So this is about our nation kan. So that's why you need to take very care in terms of selecting your leaders, in terms of voting your leaders. Okay. Right. So I can explain this type. Okay. Right. So I explained a little bit on the containerization, so you know what is the container rule and everything about container and the type of ships or container ships. And then this type of container ship based on size, Panamax, Swiss Panamax, Post Panamax, Post Swiss Panamax, Post Malacca Max. And dia ada juga yang lain tu, macam China Max, macam Baltimax, macam apa nama ni, Sizeway, apa nama ni, Seaway Max apa dah. Ada juga, ada Q Max pun ada kan. Ada Neo Max, Neo Pen Max ada. Banyak tapi semua nanti I will help to explain a little bit lah. Tapi yang most popular one is this one Panamax, Swiss Max, Post Panama Max, Post Swiss Max, Post Malacca Max. It's easy Post ni maksudnya kapal tu lagi besar. Sebab apa? Swiss Max ni dia terus Swiss Canal dia pernah melalui pembesaran. Pembesaran Swiss Canal tu bagi menampung kapal lebih besar. Itu post Swiss Max, Post Panama Max. Itu maksudnya. Post Malacca Max ni ialah kapal-kapal baru ni yang yang lebih boleh bukan menampung maksudnya boleh melalui Melaka dari segi keberatan dia sebab melibatkan kedalaman Selat Melaka tu. Faham tak? Okey, yang lain ni kedalaman kanal yang ni kedalaman Selat Melaka. Selat Melaka kita ni tak terlalu dalam dia bukan macam lautan Hindi ke Pasifik ke kan. Tu dalam. Ini selat sahaja selat selalunya tak berdalam Tapi ada ke selat yang dalam macam selat-selat di Mindanao di Philippines di pulau-pulau kepulauan Philippines. Because why? Because you know, as you all know, Philippines exists because of Philippines exists because of pergerakan bumi gunung berapi kan, line of fires jaringan gunung berapi tu. So because of the many effect of the gunung berapi, sebanyak jurang-jurang yang dalam di Filipina lah, antara pulau tu. Faham tak? Walaupun dia antara pulau ataupun selat tapi dia dalam because dia dulu gunung berapi gunung kan. Jadi jurang tu mendalam lah, di dalam ada deepest part tapi yang lain ni kebanyakannya tak dalam lah. Macam Selat Melaka dengan Laut Cina Selatan dia tak sedalam macam lautan Pasifik, Hindi and Atlantic Okay. Panamax size vessels were first introduced in 1980. These vessels were of around 4,000 to 5,000 TEUs only. Okay, as compared to the first ship 56 TEUs in 1980s, they already achieved 4,000 to 5,000 TEUs. Right, so a lot of progress in terms of world trade. And their dimension was such that they could pass the Panama Canal. Okay, so that time they can pass the Panama Canal, 4,000 to 5,000 TEUs. What do you mean by they can pass? Meaning that dia punya kedalaman, keberatan dia semua boleh melalui kanal tu lah. So they were limited to the max length of 294.1 meter panjang, kelebaran dia 32.3 meter, and the width breadth Press is width lah. And the max draught of 12 meters. Max draught ni maksudnya maksimum kedalaman tu ialah 12 meter. 12 meter ni 12 times 3.3 3.3 is around 40 plus feet lah, right? It's quite deep lah, quite deep lah, right? Which was far in comparison to the dimension of the canal. So masa tu Panama Canal ni banyak, boleh accept that kind of ship. They cannot accept longer ship because if the longer the ship, the more weight the ship will be, right? So maybe that's not enough to cover the draught of the canal, the maximum draught of the canal, right? Lebar pun is logic lah. If your ship is more than the canal, cannot go through canal lah. The ship must be lesser than the breadth of the canal, right? So it's important for the ship builders to know about this lah. Okay. Post Panamax, new transportation was introduced by APL without using the Panama Canal. Okay, this created the post Panama type. The introduction of regional masts in 1966 created a new development in the container ship market with an official capacity of 6,400 TEUs. So this kind of ship is bigger, and then they don't use the Panama Canal. Faham tak? Tapi dia dipanggil post Panamax, meaning that this ship is way from Panama. If I'm not mistaken, Suez Canal dia ada development. Panama tak ada. Panama dia tak extend. Suez Canal ada extensions. Dia buat new extension for the Suez Canal to in order to cater more boats, more ships. You know where is Panama Canal? Panama Canal is dekat pemisah antara North America and South America continent. Ada is Panama Canal. Dekat Panama tu kan. Situ Panama Canal. Yang itu selalunya ships yang want to go from the other part of America, the western part like Los Angeles, all the San Francisco side, and then they want to go to the other side of America, they use the Panama Canal towards to Miami, New York, everything, and then they go straight to London and then to other part of the continent, right? They use the Panama Canal. But other ship usually they go back. Remember I show you the picture of the port of calls, right? Port of calls, kan? They from China, they go Hong Kong, and then they go straight to US. On this side, on the other side of US, Los Angeles side. Then they go back to China using the Pacific Ocean. They don't come to Port Canal, Panama Canal. And that's one usually they post Panamax ship. So because they are post Panamax ship, they carry more than that, more than the capacity of existing Panama Canal. So nowadays, the kind of ships that carry 6,000 plus TEUs is occupying nearly 30% of the world fleet. Most of them are post Panamax. These types of vessels were subversive, introducing new ideas and method in the container shipping. They are quite new ships, new category of ships. They have new technologies, new applications of technologies on the ships, and new applications of software in terms of stowing a container on the ships. Stowing a container on the ship, they use software. They don't arrange by what manual. It's difficult to arrange manually, right? And that's why you must fit the software requirements. Then everything is done by software arrangement. So bila nak where to store the container based on locations, right? You put this container, dia ada coding dia lah, container coding. Okay. Kalau dari dia ada kelas. Kelas. Besok dia ada kelas esok. Okay. Okay. Kalau esok tak ada kelas. Pukul 12.30 je tu. Pukul 12.30 ada meeting. Okay. All right. So, so this kind of ship are quite new ships that 1980s above, right? They have even nowadays more ship being built based on 2015 above, right? That one is really current ships on technologies, whereby you should know nowadays they try to embark ataupun to utilize more on IR4 technologies, IoTs, everything, right? So you should be expecting more advanced shipping technologies, especially on the cargo handling, ship management, and also in terms of what propulsion of ships. Propulsion ni maksudnya tenaga yang ship guna pakai lah. People talking about sustainable propulsion, sustainable energy of ships using sustainable energy, sustainable resource. People talking about that now. So slowly all ship will be paid away, will be obsolete in terms of usage. And what will happen to these obsolete ships? They will be dismantled. Dismantled. That one is they will be scrapped off. Ship that will scrap off. Ship cannot just if you finish using the ship, you don't want to use the ship anymore. You cannot just sink the ship or sink the ship in the sea. Jadi tukun tak boleh. For the ship, you must remember current ship, many material inside the ships are very dangerous to the seawater, to the organism of the sea. So that's why they need to dismantle properly, right? So that it won't pollute the sea, right? If not, if you just sink the sea and sink the sea, and then the sea will be a fish, fish breeding area. Not our ship nowadays is not like the old ships before, right? Those ships, yes, there's less material use in terms of building the ships. Now there are many type of material used that sometimes are very hazardous, right? So that's why they won't allow ship to be sink to be obsolete. To sink the obsolete ship, no, they ask you to scrap off one by one, piece by piece. And the scrap of location only two places that is quite popular. Not all countries like to harbor atau to be the place of ship scrapping. You remember ship scrapping? Ship scrapping ni yang paling popular tempat je lah di China. Di China pula. Di India. They have one place, I forget the name. They used to scrap all the ships, either passenger ships ke, cargo ship ke, all scrap there. And the place is very dirty lah. Because Indian government, they don't really particular on environment yet, right? Not yet, because the country have many poor people, so they need work. So they still allow these people to work in the scrapping area of the ship, right? Those days China still also like that, but now China a rich country, so they don't take that kind of scrapping punya ship in the countries, and they know because when you scrap a ship, there's a lot of hazardous material come out, and then this will be very dirty place lah. Will damage the sea because the scrapping place also is at the sea, right? Whereby the ship harbored straight to the beach, and then they dismantle the ship one by one. Right. Still, they put all the material on the ships before they recycle it. So they will affect the environment also. And the other place is Turkey. There's one place in Turkey that do scrapping of ships. All right. The concept of cellular, this is what I mentioned just now. Cellular container vessels was introduced in 80s. The cell guides ran from the bottom to the hull to some tiers above the deck. So bracing, cellular meaning that they have the existing bracing they built to hold the container. This bracing is a structure lah, a permanent structure on the ship. From the bottom of the ship to the how many tiers that the container they want to put, how many tiers is how many story lah, and a layman word is story lah. But for logistic word is tiers. How many tiers of the ships the container they want to stack? It will depends on the bracing of the shipnya cellular. Okay, if they have no cellular, they will use lashing lah. Steel lashing that they will tie it to hold the container, right? And this lashing always need to be tightened by the crew, right? Especially when they go rough seas. After they have gone to the rough seas, they need to tighten the lashes again. All right. Swiss banks. Swiss bank size vessel were introduced in relation to the Suez Canal. The vessel have nearly the same size as the canal. The Swiss banks vessel have a carrying capacity of 12,000 TEUs with breadth of ni lebih besar daripada Panamax Canal and lebih dalam daripada Panamax Canal. So because Suez Canal is the most important canals in the world, there's no other canal that's more important than Suez Canal because it cut off the journey, 1 week journey, 1 week to circle the African continent. It takes 1 week, that's why they rather pay for the canal. Their fees to use the canal. There's no free. They must pay the fees, and the fees is a lot, hundreds of $1,000. It depends on the weight of the ships. Mostly 100,000 and above, more than 100,000, right? And the cost, the pay they're willing to pay because the cost is still cheaper as you want to compare to circle around the African continent to the Europe the countries, right? Still cheap as compared to you need to go through all the African continent. But when the Suez Canal been blockaded by the Evergreen, they have no choice. Some liners or some carriers they use to circulate the African continent and go back to Europe. Some use that. Some they willing to wait because actually waiting they doesn't expect that the waiting will take 1 week, right? And they expect only 1 or 2 days, but it take longer. So what happened is that they already had to wait for few days, and then they get to know that it takes 1 week more than a few days lah. So at the end, they're still waiting for the immigrant to clear because they have spent last 3-4 days to wait, and so maybe extra 2 days to finish. So they're still waiting. So there's the whole total waiting time is around 1 week. 1 week for to clear the blockade. All right. It's equivalent also to the time they go through all the African continent to the Europe countries. Right. And then one more thing is that why we try to avoid African continent, because at the hope of Tanjung Pengharapan, Cape of Hope, you know Cape of Hope kat mana? Hujung benua Afrika tu, Cape of Hope situ dia arus laut tu amat bahaya, amat kuat dan bahaya. Selalunya berlaku ribut situ, memang bahaya situ. Sebab tu dia try to avoid that area. But if they had to go, they had to go lah kan. No problem. There's no choice lah. But they're trying to avoid that. The waters in the Cape of Hope is quite robust in terms of dia punya stream arus itu. And then the weather there also it's a place whereby the high pressure and low pressure meet. Usually when this low pressure meet, it will usually happen thunderstorm or typhoon or whatever lah. Right. That's why they must, the captain or the sea navigation crews need to know the pressure of the location. Is it low pressure, high pressure, because it affect the weather there. But sometimes the weather change immediately, abruptly, because of changing of pressure. That's why you need to know in advance, if possible, to avoid these kind of things, right? Post-Panamax is ultra-large container vessel which is carrying 18,000 TEUs with a breadth of 60 meter, 21 max drops. To be able to pass Suez Canal, a such vessel was introduced in relation to the Suez Canal. In relation to the Suez Canal, this vessel has nearly the same size as that of the Suez Canal. Swiss bank vessels have a carrying capacity of 12,000 with breadth of 50 to 57 meters and drop in between 14 to 16.1 meters. These are big ships, big ships. But post Suez Max ni happen when the Suez Canal been extended, right? In terms of their breadth and their drops, right? That's why you can see Evergreen carrying more than 12,000 TEUs can still use the canal, right? So this the situation of Suez Canal. Post Malacca Max. Post Malacca Max, the size emulates the maximum permissible draws of 21 meters of Malacca Straits. 21 meters. 21 times 3.3. Nearly 70 feet of Malacca Straits. Kedalaman dia. For this size of vessel to enter the ports, the port authorities will have to be ready. Presently, only 2 ports in the world are ready to accept this size of vessel. Singapore and Rotterdam. Previously is PTP, Port Tanjung Pelepas. But what happened is that due to the extensions of Port of Singapore, they acquired land from the sea. So they extended the Singapore size. Then it affect the PTP punya draft. Then PTP cannot accept too big vessel lah. And the vessel should go to Singapore. That is the reason PTP is less making noise nowadays, right? Because of most the activities have been secured by the Singapore. Okay, Singapore Port Authorities have secured many activities there, lah, right? Because Singapore PSC has extended their port by reclaim the land on the sea, right? How they reclaim, they acquire sand. You know, ironically, the sand being supplied by, right, the sand to claim land for Singapore PSA is being supplied by Johor, right? Johor have many sands, lot of sand, right? Sand, you know sand, pasir, kan? Tapi Johor, dia buy sand from Johor to reclaim land for PSA, Port Singapore, kan? Tapi at the same time will jeopardize PTP, right? Jadi salah siapa sekarang? Salah PSA ke salah Johor? Cuba pergi. PSA expanding the port by reclaiming land. They reclaim the land by buying sand from Johor. What they do is affecting PTP. Now, who's stupid? Faham tak? Siapa yang bodoh? Atau siapa yang tak pandai sangat? Ada jawapan? Faham tak saya punya maksud ni? Faham tak? Tak faham dalam Malaysia. What you mean tak faham? Malaysia kita faham apa?
Clear with the question.
You chat with me. Bila I on sharing, I tak boleh buka chatting, faham tak? Bila I stop sharing, then I can see chatting. Alright, so you tak faham yang Aframax apa semua kan? You tak faham yang itu ke?
Sir. Yes, sir.
And itu is the size of ship. Category the size of ships. Alright, category size of ships. That's why bigger ship, especially the biggest tanker, kan, usually dia tak boleh masuk canal, kan, because too heavy, right, and too big. Tanker kan, big tanker lah, not small tanker lah, big tanker, right. Because Panamax semua the size, the category of cargo size. Yang ini refer to mostly container lah, container kan, container ships. Post Panamax Panamax. Yang refer to others category of ship, itu yang akan datangnya Q-Max, Neo Panamax, Neo Panamax, yang tu datangnya apa nama ni, Baltimax, yang tu datangnya cerita Seaway Max, China Max, itu bukan container ship. Container ship selalunya Panamax, Post Panamax, Swiss Max, Post Swiss Max dengan Malacca Max kan, Post Malacca Max. Dia tu berkenaan dengan size ship kategori size. Understand Indonesia? Ship size kategori lah. Kalau post tu
Yes,
besar lah
sir.
kan.
Understand.
Faham tak? Kalau post tu besar lagi lah. Okay. Ke depan tak tahulah. Tapi selalu setakat post je lah. Tapi ada dulu term dulu post Panamax. Post Panamax. Lagi besar-besar. Kan? Ada term dulu pakai post Swiss Max. Dah besar lagi kan. So that is the situation of the world trade. The world trade is getting bigger and bigger, and the ship also bigger and bigger. Right? Okay. Any more questions? Tadi my question you faham tak? PTP initially is a challenge to PSA, right? But when PSA expanded the port by reclaiming the land, the sea land, reclaiming the sea near the PTP, by buying sand from Johor. Now, who is the culprit of affecting PTP? Siapa? Adakah PSA, adakah Johor, ataupun siapa? You tahu tak? You know the situation or not? PTP initially put a challenge to PSA, a threat. Because PTP ni banyak kapal melabur juga. But now no more threats to PSA. Why? Because PSA extended the port area by reclaiming the land of the sea. Right? And how do they reclaim the land? Is by buying sand from Johor. Now, who is stupid? Siapa tahu? Awak faham tak macam ni? Tak faham? You tidur ke apa ni? Semua senyap ni. Cik Roslinda. Johor lah. Faham tak? Johor lah. PTP is been established there to fight, to counter-fight, to compete with PSA. Right? PTP been established there to compete with PSA. But PSA have a strategy to stop the threat by PTP. They extended the PSA area by buying sand from Johor government to reclaim the land. Now, who are stupid here? Tu faham tak? So we faham. Okay? Meaning that Malaysian stupid lah. Kan you bagi Singapore beli pasir, kenapa nak jahannam dengan PTP? Faham tak? Stupid tak? But that one is not federalization. Buying sand, selling sand is state decision. Federal have no control. State is owned by what? That one you should know lah kan. So that's why Tun Mahathir mentioned who is actually threatening the sovereignty of our country. Not Singapore. Singapore is just buying the sand. But who sell the sand? Jadi kajian pusat bina PTP untuk compete dengan Singapore. Tetapi Singapore sudah extend port dia melalui reclaim tanah daripada laut dengan membeli pasir daripada Johor. Sedangkan PTP tu di Johor. Nampak tak? Stupid tak? Kan? How stupid is Malaysian lah. Ketawa dengan Singapore je, faham? Sebab apa? Sebab different authorities. Sand is belong to the state government to decide. But the port, build up a port is up to the federal government. See, it's conflict of interest between these two. At the end, PTP suffer. Now that's why you see PTP now is less popular because of Singapore have checkmate him. Singapore have checkmate. You know checkmate means checkmate